Whoa, there's two of us.
Countdown upgrade.
Countdown upgrade. New intro. Who's this, right?
That's it. Need some sound on that.
We do. We need a jingle. I heard you were recording a new song for us as our theme song. No, is that false?
Yeah, it might be. Maybe it's under wraps right now.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for joining this rare and special episode of Hired, where I'm joined with my partner in crime. This way, Mr. Brian Edgehill. And we're talking about something that is very topical right now. The title, it's a little like not knowing where this is going to go, and we might have done it by design, where it's, don't let the algorithm fool you. And Brian, what algorithm are we talking about, and what do we mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's the LinkedIn algorithm, and it's really strong these days. I find I was saying to you earlier, I think if you would have went on LinkedIn in the past couple of days, you would think it was a platform for crying CEOs. I'm flooded with posts about that post, and they do such a great job with posts that get a lot of engagement. They really get spotlighted, so it tends to be all you're seeing and repeated. And for better or for worse, the algorithm is the algorithm, so it can be used for good, it can be used for negative things, but it definitely is front and center on LinkedIn.
And I feel like, to that point, things get magnified. Events that get a lot of attention seem like they're everywhere, and obviously there's good uses of that, like what we're trying to do to get our kind of mission out there to change hiring for everybody for the good. But also what we've seen in the last few weeks, month, is the unfortunate circumstance that's happened with all of these mass layoffs gets a lot of attention. A lot of people are posting about it to try to help people out, which is great. And a lot of people are sharing and commenting on that. So if you are on these platforms, all you're seeing, layoff. So it can be discouraging if you're a candidate, but it can also give you a false sense of the market if you're a hiring manager. And when we say those two things, what is it? Let's start with the candidate in terms of why it's not all doom and gloom. We don't want to start this off on a negative. We want to start this off with some optimism. So, Brian, you're a candidate. You're on LinkedIn. Everybody's laying people off. I've just been laid off. I'm screwed. There's nobody that's hiring, according to what I'm seeing online. True or false?
False, for sure. I think what I tell people, there's not a better time to be looking, whether you're out of work or looking for a change. I mean, the market is still extremely tight when it comes to the labor market, and there's a lot of options out there. Just because remote work has really been trending, you've got all these companies now in your backyard that you didn't have before. There's been no better time to be a candidate, and I think that still remains true. Despite some company setbacks, I think there's a lot of people that will land on their feet in other great roles.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I'll say this from the lens that Brian and I are seeing things, which, we are in the market all day, every day, talking to people about hiring. That's our job. That's what we do. So from our vantage point and our viewpoint, what we see is the market's still good. There's still a lot of hiring going on, our clients included, and even outside of our clients, there are a lot. Now, as we just said, the algorithm necessarily won't capture that because it's not going to get as much attention. If I post, and my issues with posting, that you're just hiring for a role, I'm not getting 4,000 shares and 10,000 engagements on that. So that's not going to be magnified as much as those that are helping those that have been victims of layoffs and sharing that activity. So the layoff news is drowning out all of the hiring activity, giving a false sense of the market for those that are looking. So optimism is starting off this week's episode of Hired, that if you are a candidate, it is the best time to be looking. And Brian, and I know we have some free content coming soon to candidates to help them when they're looking at hiring, but do you want to give them a sneak peek on maybe how, if you found yourself looking for a job right now, how you would tackle that and how you would handle that?
Yeah. And before that, I think I would just say, even on some of those big algorithm posts, if you notice in the comments, it's a lot of people trying to help out or saying like, we've got roles. So, I mean, as much as the headline is layoff, if you dig a little deeper, it's a lot of companies saying like, we've got roles, here's the link, so there is a lot of activity there still. But I think it's good to regroup. I think you really need to sit down and think about not just what you were doing before, but what you want to be doing next, and taking a little bit of control over that job search instead of just waiting to be contacted. I think there's ways that you can proactively do some outreach to potential hirers or companies that you're interested in, and be creative about how you could share some value and make an impact on their team.
Yeah, definitely. And I think to the last point you said about, reaching out, and I think, the one-to-many approach is good. The one-to-one approach is much better when you're looking for a job or when you're hiring. And we'll get to that on the back half of this episode. But if you're actually looking for a new job, there's nothing more meaningful than connecting with people one-on-one to start a conversation. I mean, that is where you're going to get more information versus, if you're posting that you're looking, it's going to get a lot of activity. It's going to get a lot of energy of people sending you links to apply and do all these things. And if you're applying for a lot of jobs, sometimes that could be a false sense of making progress to landing your next job, because the application process is lengthy, it's generic, and unless you're writing your resume each time to win those application processes and those tools, you're not going to have the hit ratio that you will if you scaled down the number of applications but moved up the meaningful conversations you had. And that's what you were saying, is like, stop applying for 100 jobs. What you can do is start thinking about what you want to do next in your job and connect with people that are either doing that job or that are managing people doing that job, and start having conversations with them about, potentially working for them or just networking and engaging. And that's how you're going to kind of have more traction and have more meaningful connections in landing that next gig.
Yeah, totally. Jump the line. I think, if there's an opportunity for a human connection over a, submission button, take it for sure.
Yeah, take it. And if you've worked with us long enough, you'll know that we don't like those systems and those rules. I mean, that's something that, if you've been a candidate of ours, I mean, but like, also we want to extend that to beyond just working with us, and reach out to the people that are hiring. They're making the decisions, not the tools. The tools make the decision to get you to the people. Cut the line, go right to the people. Don't play that game. Okay, let's transition to the back half of this. Don't let the algorithm fool you when it comes to people that are hiring. And what do we mean there?
I don't know. What do we mean there?
Oh, you want me to go on this?
I'm gonna sling it back to you. Yeah,
I'm gonna sling it back to you.
I did the candidate one. I figure I'd like to hear what your thoughts are on this one.
It's not easy. It didn't get easier. It's not 2019. Hiring is still hard. Attracting top talent is still hard. Don't let the algorithm fool you in the fact that if you have a job, that it's extremely sought after and thousands of people that are going to line up for you. Top talent still has options. You have to try. You have to give them a compelling reason to apply. Just because you have one and ask them to apply to a link, you're still not going to get the response that you should. You have to market. You have to market yourself. You have to think about this job just like the way you would market your product or service or company that you're working at. Why would somebody want to work for you?
Yeah.
Why? What's in it for them?
That's a good question. I think, when I think of the employer side with the algorithm and the posts around layoffs, I think you're right. If they're seeing this and they're thinking, well, we're still busy, we still have all these open roles, let's just post these roles. I mean, there's so many companies that are still hiring. As much as some companies had some layoffs, unfortunately, the fact of the matter is way more companies are still hiring than they're laying off right now. And there's still a very, very tight labor market. So you're right. I think it does creep in a sense of like, well, I've got some job links that people can just come apply to, and I don't need to do anything else but share that. We want everyone to be successful, but I think it does kind of warp, I think, the vision sometimes on, all these people being available all of a sudden.
Well, I think it's just like I said, the perception of using LinkedIn. If you do log in there, you do see that like there's all these spreadsheets, there's all these individuals, there's all this massive influx of supply to the labor market, which there is. I'm not kind of refuting that, but at the same time, they have options. Like just because there's people available doesn't mean that, they're having like people are reaching out to them. It's not just you, other people are. So what we're saying is a word of caution to, if you want to attract top talent, you have to give them a compelling reason to listen to you, because it is still very busy marketplace and you have to stand out. I mean, just because you have a job doesn't mean that, necessarily you're different than thousands of other companies that also have jobs.
Yeah, totally.
And I also think like the one great thing that I love seeing is how people are helping and trying to help people that have been. I mean, it's one of the great things. I mean, when you do go into to LinkedIn and see all of these things being reshared and liked and things like, that's such a great thing that people want to help, and they're doing that. I would challenge them to take it a step further. And if you really want to help, or you can help, create some one-on-one connections and not just use the one-to-many approach. If you share something to your network, that's good, because it gives it visibility, and that's a great thing. What is great is that, yeah, what is better, I
Better.
guess, or a build on that is, do you know some people in your network that are in a capacity maybe that are hiring that would benefit? Connect them, or at least ask them if you want to be connected, and then you can start brokering some one-on-one kind of meaningful connections. And I feel like if you really want to help and take it a step further than just the one-to-many, creating those one-to-one connections are extremely valuable. And I think if I put myself in that situation, I was looking for help, those things would mean the most to me, to be connected to people. And it's a tough spot to be in if you've been a victim of a layoff emotionally, and if you're broadcasting that on LinkedIn, you're being very vulnerable, and so like you are looking for help. And I think sharing it is great, and I love that, but I challenge you, take it a step further and see if you can create some one-to-one meaningful connections, as well as the one-to-many approach.
For sure. Yeah, I think you're right. I echo that. It's great to see people helping people. And I think more often than not, I think people just are hesitant to ask. And I think, if more people did reach out one-on-one for some help or a connection, more than happy to do it. I just think there's a hesitancy around it. And a lot of times, like you said, it's the one-to-many. But I think a lot of times if you send someone a note or an email or whatever it may be, more times than not, they're usually willing to help out if they're a good connection.
And just, combining two of these stories, something you said about candidates that are looking for a job, being specific about what you want to do next is great, because that will help people direct on how they can help you. If I just kind of said like, hey, I'm looking for a job, where do you want to keep doing the same thing you're doing? Do you want to like lateral move? Do you want to try something new? Like, what job are you looking for? Because we know it's not just any job. But if you said like, hey, I was on this product team where we were doing this, and, I'm looking to connect with other leaders in the product space that have this type of product, as an example.
Yeah.
Great. Well, now I know how I can help you and create those one-to-one connections. So I think the two might be able to go like complement each other. Is like, if you're a candidate, be specific on what you're looking to do next. And that will help people that want to help direct you to the right individuals to create those meaningful connections.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, it's almost like as recruiters, we have visibility into people's aspirations on LinkedIn, what they're open to work, what types of roles they're targeting, what they want to do next. And you're right. I think if they stepped back and they're trying to broadcast that message out, they should use that and just share a little bit more information so that people can have some more targeted help. Otherwise, you create a bunch of chaos, and sometimes that's harder to deal with than not, right?
Yeah. I mean, and it's got to be overwhelming if you get, a bunch of responses of things, and most of the jobs aren't relevant to what it is you want to do next. So, I mean, I think to help everybody, if you want to help people help you, the more specific you can get in terms of what it is you're looking for. Because I don't think they're looking for vanity likes. I don't think, people that are posting that they're looking for a job aren't looking for shares and likes and, to become viral. They want help. They want help to find a next job.
Mhm.
So that's what the outcome is they're looking for. So maybe, they don't get the likes, but they get 5 meaningful conversations that result in a couple offers that they make the right decision. I think that's ultimately what they would be more satisfied with than 1,000 likes and 400 shares and no
Yeah.
offers.
Yeah, and I think sometimes coming off something like that, a layoff, where it's emotional and it's turbulent, sometimes it's even more important to be stopping and thinking about, okay, what do I want to do next? Because I think you're a little bit more susceptible to maybe taking something or starting something you weren't really interested in, just because you wanted to fill that void. And we all know where that could lead. Sometimes it could work out great, but a lot of times it doesn't. So I think really just taking that time to become clear with yourself on what your goals are and where you want to go next, because it'll just set you up for better success going forward.
I love that. I love that. To close on that, and then also I think we should end on some optimism.
Yeah.
It's a great, like, it's if you are listening to this and you're struggling, reach out to Brian or I, and we're happy to help any way we can. We have a network that we can extend to you, and we can also help you kind of figure out what it is you want to do next and help you craft a story to go and get that. There's nothing that gets us more excited than seeing people uncover, hey, I want to do this next, and like I can do this, and here's the story, and here's my unique pitch to go and do that. Like that's what we do for a living. So if
Mhm.
you are struggling and you're not getting the traction you want, I mean, reach out, and we're happy to help any way we can. So optimism, market's great. It could be fun, even.
Yeah.
I have had I have had some people that one of the challenges when we work with someone, I was like, at the end of this, I'm gonna have you admit that it was fun. And they're I think it can be. I think it can be.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
awesome. Anything else, Ben, as we sign this off on
I,
this glorious Thursday?
I think that's it. It was signed, sealed, and delivered. That's a good message. I think there's some really good points there. And yeah, like Mike said, if you guys need any help, or if anyone wants to reach out, more than happy to have a chat and see how we can help out.
Great. Guys and girls, have a fantastic Thursday, and we will see you next week.